Yo, what up everybody? So Boruto chapter 34 is out and it's a chapter that I have a lot to talk about. There was so much going on and so much being set up in this chapter. However, for the anime only viewers, I'm gonna say right now, this is obviously gonna be a spoiler heavy video, and there's also gonna be quite a few spoiler heavy videos coming in the next few days. You guys know the drill. Usually when a chapter comes out, the next 3 to 4 days are gonna be completely spoiler heavy. So I thank you guys for your support. However, if you don't want to be spoiled, click off the video. But what I will say is that before you click off, if you guys check down in the description box of this video, I'll have links for you guys to actually purchase the Boruto manga, and if you do so, you'll be supporting the channel if you use one of these links. So I'll leave a link down in the description box for you guys to do so. Now, with that being said, if you're still here, I'm gonna assume you are completely okay with any type of spoilers. So Boruto chapter 34, this is one of those chapters where when they talk about opening Pandora's box, Ikimoto has essentially drawn Pandora's box when he shows us Delta interacting with all the other inner members of Kara. But most importantly, when Kodachi wrote the script and he gave Ikimoto the script for him to start storyboarding and working on everything, when we have that moment where Jigen becomes aware that Boruto Uzumaki has the karma seal and Delta confirms that it is indeed a real karma, everything just changed. Everything just changed, and this is a very prime example of what if Naruto would have got the karma seal. Because the way that Jigen's looking, Jigen has 3 things that immediately stands out. The first thing is he thinks that damn MomoShiki, before he passed away, he must have did something. He must have did something, and then he refers to my vessel. And so that kind of confirms the fact that, you know, Jigen has a connection to the Souichi clan in some type of way, and the karma seals, there's definitely something there. And the other thing is Boruto Uzumaki now has a target on his back. I mean, it's insane when you think about it. Let's just go back 3 generations for Uzumakis, right? Because I don't think you guys fully grasp what Kodachi's doing here. This is a complete homage. Obviously, this is going to be an homage to the fact that Naruto as a Jinchuriki was being hunted down. Yeah, absolutely. I think everybody catches that. However, you can also go back another generation to Kushina Uzumaki, who, because she was the Jinchuriki, she was actually at one point kidnapped and taken away from the village, and it was the Hidden Cloud Village was trying to take her and rip the 9 tails outside of her body. So I mean, it's like Uzumaki are cursed when you think about it. They had their whole village teamed up on by several nations, and they were completely eradicated because of their sealing ninjutsu. And now Boruto, someone who's only a 3rd Uzumaki, because Naruto's 1/2, so that should make Boruto 1/3. The fact that Naruto is now in a position where his own son's gonna be hunted and his adopted son's being hunted as well, Naruto's in a hell of a position. But the 3rd thing that the Jigen scene definitely revealed is that the Kara organization, they've been keeping tabs on Naruto. Like, they've been keeping all kind of tabs on Naruto. After the MomoShiki battle, they investigated Naruto to look for signs for the karma seal. So the first thing I'll let you know is that there's somebody in Konoha who's working with Kara. I don't know who it is, but there's someone in Konoha working with Kara. They already knew that Katasuke was under mind control. They already knew that. However, that's scary when you think about it. And that's also something that kind of ties back into Naruto's character. Naruto's way too trusting as a character. He's way too trusting, and as Hokage, he's definitely grown a soft spot when it comes to trusting people who are in the village, because he looks at the whole village like his family. And I can kind of get it, you know, from a leadership perspective. Naruto would never suspect people who are inside his own village, and because of everything that Kara can do, they didn't even realize that Katasuke was under mind control. The whole time you saw him in the anime during the versus MomoShiki arc, and when you read it in the manga, he was being controlled by somebody from Kara, mind control, and that's how he got the scientific ninja tool technology. They used that as a way to buffer it. So I mean, this is going to be very interesting going forward if they go through with the whole thing about there being a traitor in the mist. And so I think that the Boruto manga could definitely benefit from this, because if you go the route of there being some type of traitor in Konoha, now it creates a layer of mystery. And what's also interesting is that as soon as they find out that, okay, well, Naruto doesn't have the karma seal, the very next person they suspect is Sasuke Uchiha, and it's just like, dude, if Sasuke would have got karma, Sasuke would be broken as well. And the things we've seen that this karma seal's been able to do, it can increase your physical strength, it can absorb and redirect chakra attacks. If you give that to Naruto or Sasuke on top of their already powerful abilities, then automatically, I mean, they're hands down too broken. However, what's interesting is the fact that Kashin Koji has been watching everything. He's been watching everything the entire fight. And Kashin Koji says, as expected, Naruto Uzumaki is extremely powerful. But then he goes a step further. A few chapters back, Kawaki says, well, Naruto at this level, he might be stronger than Jigen. And Kawaki would know because he's been training with Jigen. However, and I'll get to that in a second, but however, Kashin Koji is someone who apparently it looks as if he's plotting to bring down Jigen. I mean, very early on, when we first got introduced to this dude's character, I mean, if I'm not mistaken, he killed one of the members of Kara. So, I mean, he's always been a bit of a rogue agent. He's always been kind of doing his own thing. And so you have to believe that he's plotting on some type of way to bring down Jigen at some point. And the conclusion that he comes to, he says, as Naruto is now, Naruto can't defeat Jigen. And he goes a step further. He says, well, in order to bring down Jigen, this power Naruto uses won't be enough. They're gonna have to learn how to use the karma power that Boruto Uzumaki has. That's nuts. That's obviously a built-in plot device. However, most importantly, what that also tells us is that when it comes to these karma seals, we don't know nearly as much as we think. I as well as other people were thinking that we were getting quite a bit of information about karma. However, this definitely points to the fact that Kodachi is setting up the story to where the karma seal, there's more to this power than we realize, just as the anime as well as the Boruto manga very early on has hinted at the fact that Boruto's Jogan has a lot of mysteries about it. So, I mean, this is going to be interesting. I think that when it comes to not just Jigen, but maybe the larger Atsuki threat, I feel like Kodachi, the writer for the Boruto anime and manga, is setting everything up to where Boruto Uzumaki is going to have one ability for both. I think the karma seal is probably going to be used to bring down Jigen, and the Jogan is going to be used to bring down the larger Atsuki threats. I mean, Boruto in a way is going to be a child of prophecy in himself. I mean, this is going to be interesting to kind of see that going forward. But you know what I want to kind of do now is I want to kind of jump all the way back, because typically when I do these chapter reviews, I start with what impresses me the most. And obviously what impressed me the most is this revelation about Jigen. Starting all the way back at the beginning of the chapter, Kodachi damn near set the series up for what is essentially huge foreshadowing, okay? Because when Naruto's looking over Delta's body, you know, Naruto flat out says, hey, you know, it'd be easier if I just went ahead and killed this woman. It'd be a lot easier. However, I left her alive on purpose. And you're going, okay, makes sense. I mean, I made tons of videos predicting the fact that Naruto is gonna have Delta interrogated. I mean, that's a smart move, because Naruto's dealing with an enemy that he knows nothing about, and that's one of the first rules of combat, one of the first rules of war, especially for somebody like Naruto who's declared war on Jigen. Naruto needs to know what he's dealing with. Well, as soon as Naruto says this, Kawaki says, you idiot, you don't even have an idea what you're working with. Finish her off while you still can. And before Naruto can react, Delta's body starts to self-destruct, and Naruto has to jump out of the way, and he has to get Boruto, Kawaki, and Himawari out of the way. And what's very interesting about this is the fact that Delta's body self-destructed. So I've gone on record a few times and said, no, she's not an android. I think she's more of a cyborg. That means she's a human being with artificial enhancements. Well, I'm gonna have to pump the brakes on this for a second now, because when you look at this ain't something a cyborg does. If you blow up as a cyborg, you're still human at your core. So if you blow up, you committed suicide. This isn't the case with Delta. When Delta destroys her body, that drone flies off. And Kashin Koji's keeping track of it, but the drone flies off, goes back to the Kara base, and we get this revelation that there are several bodies of Delta. So, I mean, I apologize. I've been telling you guys that she's a cyborg. It looks like she's a full-on robot, and I'm not sure, but it might be that drone. I think that drone is acting almost, I wouldn't say as a chakra signature, but it's acting similar in the way that Nagato used the 6 Paths of Pain, where he had those chakra rods inside the dead bodies and he was manipulating them that way. I mean, this is interesting. And what I'm really wondering if this is something as simple as sending a signal where that drone catches the signal from wherever the car base is and then it redirects it, kind of like how you have internet from your internet company and your computer uses the internet, but that Wi-Fi router that the internet company gives you is what actually connects your computer to internet. It's kind of the same setup when it comes to Delta. The signal comes from the car base and then it goes to that router that she has, that drone, and then it goes to Delta's body, and that's how she's able to act. And what's so interesting about this is the fact that when Delta gets out, Delta is in full effect. Like, she has complete memory of what happened. It doesn't even look like she's in a different body in the sense that, you know, the memories and experience and transfer. That's something that is absolutely ridiculous. That's something absolutely busted when you think about it, because essentially what that means is that, say if they have like 4 or 5 different bodies for Delta, you gotta destroy each of those bodies. And if each of those bodies can even keep up with a suppressed Sage of 6 Paths chakra mode Naruto, this is absolutely insane. And what's even more insane about this fact is that you have different members of the Kara organization who are lining up to take their shot at Naruto. Like, I know somebody's like, man, the Naruto disrespect is so serious right now. You got this dude Boro who's saying like, yo, it's my turn to go after Hokage now. I got this. And then Code is like, yeah, well, you know what? Like, Delta, you way out your lead. Like, hey, you gotta let me and my counterpart handle this. You know, see, we got next right now. And then Jigen steps in and says, hey, you know, Kashin Koji is the one who's supposed to be overseeing this mission. Don't let me see you get this infuriated again, Delta. And what's absolutely crazy is that they're casually talking about killing the Hokage. They're casually talking about killing Naruto Uzumaki. That is insane, dude. That is insane. Just what kind of ninja tech do these guys have to where they feel that confident where they can go up against Naruto? Because the way Boro's talking, don't get me wrong, Delta talked that talk too, but this dude Boro was talking mad greasy about Naruto. Like, this dude Boro was on a different level with it, man. And just kind of speaking of the designs of Boro and Delta and Jigen and what's the other dude's name, Code, I gotta say this is something that, you know, I have to give Ikimoto credit for, right? I've been very critical of how Ikimoto uses his panels and the fact that he doesn't really maximize how many pages he uses in the manga, because as a monthly manga, he can use between 60 and 70 pages, and he only does about 45. And when it comes to manga panels, he doesn't use as many panels. If you follow me on Twitter, you guys know exactly what I'm talking about, where he doesn't use as many panels to capture motion. But in this chapter, he stepped it up a little bit. We got some pages where there was about 6, 7, 8 panels on a page, and you know, motion, it wasn't as good. But I gotta say, from this perspective, this dude Ikimoto, when it comes to just doing designs, he can draw some villains. He can draw some sick ass designs. And I just want to say this for those of you who are unaware, like, Ikimoto did the designs for Zabuza, he did them for Haku, he did them for Gaara, he did them for Kankuro. A lot of the designs you saw in the tuning exams, the design of the 3rd Hokage and that battle armor, and some of the designs of the Sound 4, Ikimoto was the one who drew them. He was one of Kishimoto's biggest assistants, going all the way back to the start of the Naruto manga. So Ikimoto, that design that you guys know from the Naruto era, Ikimoto can do it. However, Kishimoto says, you know, add your own flair to it. And that's what we're seeing here, like with the design of Jigen, with the design of Code, and the design of Delta, the design of Boro. These have Ikimoto's signature on it, from the way he draws their faces to just the overall designs from what they're wearing and the way that their hair looks like. This is good. This is good. I really like this. I really like this. This is something where I would like to see Ikimoto continue to use more of his own taste in that regard, because, you know, I think that he is constrained to a little bit having to, you know, draw Boruto and Team 7 and everything. While he isn't mimicking Kishimoto's art style, he's still drawing characters that he didn't create. So I mean, I like when he gets this opportunity to do this. And I mean, look no further than Kawaki. you know, Ikimoto did the design for Kawaki, and I think a lot of people agree Kawaki's design is absolutely badass. Now, speaking of Kawaki, I had a feeling this was going this direction. When you're reading this chapter and you find out that Katasuke's like, yeah, this scientific ninja tool that Kawaki's body has been turned into, it's on a different level. And basically he's like, you know, I finished getting his wounds treated and setting up the connections for his artificial hand. However, there's nothing I can do from him. I can't make an artificial arm for him because this is way beyond my scope. Now to put this in perspective, like Katasuke, I mean, that's the dude that essentially created scientific ninja tech that's so broken that people like Boruto can use purple lightning without actually training to get a hold to the mastery is required to use it. So I mean, Katasuke is a brilliant scientist in his own right, and if I'm not mistaken, it's Amato, the guy from the Kara organization, who does all the technology and everything. So I mean, Katasuke's been surpassed in this aspect. I mean, that's absolutely nuts. And I think this would be, again, a great way to introduce Dinky and his family, work with Katasuke to build Konoha's scientific ninja tech to a point where it rivals and eventually surpasses the Kara organization, because right now, they're getting ready to lap Konoha. This is absolutely nuts. However, I do gotta say this. Naruto, oh man, Naruto, when I say he's too trusting for his own good. So when Naruto looks at Kawaki's body and Katasuke says there's nothing he can do, well, Naruto listens to Katasuke's explanation about how all the scientific ninja tech arms that Katasuke's made for Naruto, yeah, I can't really use those on him because they only respond to your chakra. Naruto says, ha, I got this. And this is what's crazy, right? Like Bill Gates once said, if you show me a lazy person, I'll hire him because he'll show me the easiest way to get the job done. So Naruto takes one of those arms, he slaps it on Kawaki, and then he embeds his own chakra into the arm, and essentially Kawaki now has access to a working, fully functional arm, and it's because Naruto is essentially pumping chakra into it on a daily basis and all throughout the day, all throughout the night until Naruto goes to sleep. Naruto explains to Kawaki and he explains to Boruto it's no different than keeping a shadow clone up, so there's no need to worry about this. And that's when we get something that it almost brought tears to my eyes with how happy I was, right? Kawaki looks at Naruto and he says, I want you to teach me how to use ninjutsu. And Naruto debates on it for a second. He says, yeah, you know what? I'll train you. Now, I made the video, like a few chapters ago, talking about the fact that Kawaki was probably gonna learn ninjutsu, but I didn't think it was a good idea. I'll leave that probably in the pinned comment below so you guys can check that out. If not, you guys just go to the Boruto Talk playlist and you can pull that video up. But oh man, like this is so special right here. When you see Naruto training Kawaki as well as Kawaki training with Sarada, learning the Shuriken Jutsu, training with Boruto, you see Naruto and Kawaki, they got the kunai training, and so we're seeing that there is some time that has passed. And while all this is going on, it can be assumed that Kashin Koji is in Konoha and he is essentially watching all of this develop. And what I find very interesting is look at the tone. I'm gonna challenge you guys. Look at the tone in which it's drawn when Kawaki's trained with Naruto. Kawaki and Naruto, they're drawn in a brightly lit scenario. Naruto's smiling as he's passing on that information, and Naruto's embodying everything the Sage of Six Paths was talking about when he said that he created chakra as a way to connect people. It's more ninshu, and people turned it into ninjutsu. They turned chakra into a way to weaponize in a fight, and that wasn't his intention. Naruto says, well, me feeding my chakra into your arm, I mean, it's meant to connect. That's what chakra was originally meant for. And so you see this brightly lit background, you take all that information into the fact that Naruto is training Kawaki while keeping his arm active by feeding his own chakra into it, so he's connected with them all during that time. Naruto tells Kawaki that Kawaki reminds him of a younger version of himself. And then the challenge for you guys is to go back to the chapter where you get the introduction to Jigen, where Jigen basically buys Kawaki from his father, and then he proceeds to beat the living hell out of Kawaki. And the backdrop for that is everything's just in this darkness, there's this dark atmosphere and mood. Like you're seeing once again with Naruto and Jigen, when those two come to blows, it's gonna be over the fact that both of them have a different idea of what it means to be a father. Both of them have a different idea for how they view Kawaki. Naruto views him as more as a legitimate son. Jigen views him as a vessel, as an object. And I mean, it's absolutely nuts just to see the comparison. And that's something that I do gotta give Ikimoto credit for, because Kodachi can write it all day, but Ikimoto in this chapter uses the panels in a way that conveys those emotions. And that's so beautiful. That's something that Masashi Kishimoto did a really good job. Each panel tells its own story when Kishimoto was doing the Naruto manga. And in flashes in this manga chapter, each panel was telling its own story. Like those collages that we got where you saw Kawaki during this huge, I wouldn't say huge, but during this time skip, training with the different members of Konoha. This was beautiful. This was absolutely beautiful. And it's so incredible to see something like this. I want to kind of briefly touch on the whole thing with the ninja trading cards and everything, because this is what I find interesting. This is what I find really interesting, is the fact that the first card Kawaki draws is the fourth Hokage. And this is after Kawaki says he wants to learn ninjutsu. Now, I don't know if this is done on purpose. I am going to give Ikimoto and Kodachi this much. After reading Kodachi's work, I don't think this is done by mistake. I think this is foreshadowing. And the reason why I say this is those ninja cards and everything, the fourth Hokage's card was super rare. And I've talked about in the past, you know, that I would like to see Boruto learn more of the Uzumaki sealing jutsu. I would like to see Boruto learn the Flying Thunder God and everything. Kawaki draws the fourth Hokage's card. I'm wondering if that's saying that Kawaki might turn around and be closer to Minato than even Boruto Uzumaki. Or you have to look at it from this perspective. Boruto's being given the card of the fourth Hokage. Is that a sign that Boruto's going to be given the ninjutsu of the fourth Hokage at some point? I mean, that's something interesting. That's something to kind of keep your mind on, or excuse me, your eye on. Because I don't think that's done by mistake. That's something that may or may not pay fruit. But the fact that, you know, again, Kawaki gives Boruto the card of the fourth Hokage. Boruto gives him the seventh Hokage's card. Kawaki's now training under the seventh. I think it's possible that Boruto's going to be this generation's user of the Flying Raijin Jutsu. It's time for somebody to get this jutsu in effect. Now, I mean, I could be jumping the gun a bit because nobody in Naruto's generation got it, but it's time for it to resurface. It's time for it to resurface. So, I mean, that's going to be interesting to kind of keep your mind on. I'll probably do a video later on this week talking about should Boruto learn the Flying Thunder God, so keep your eyes on that. But let's go ahead and jump to the juicy part. So I gotta say, man, I want to wrap up with this, man. So I think it's very interesting that Ikimoto draws panels where MomoShiki is taking Boruto's body and the words of my vessels there, and it looks like it was something that MomoShiki was setting up with Boruto and Jigen's caught onto it. And then you get a panel where Kawaki is coming face to face with the nine-tailed fox. I mean, the parallels on this, how Boruto and Kawaki are more connected than ever before. This is something different than what happened with Naruto and Sasuke, where Naruto and Sasuke were connected in the sense that both of them were the reincarnates of Ashura and Indra. I don't think that something like this is happening, but the fact that they've been putting so much emphasis on their karma seals being connected, and now you have a potential connection with Jigen to MomoShiki, this is nuts. This is nuts. I don't know where Ikimoto is going to be taking this, or excuse me, I don't know where Kodachi is going to be taking this, because Kodachi's the writer for the story. But let's just look at what Jigen says. Once he finds out that Boruto has the karma seal and that Boruto has the karma seal that belongs to Momoshiki, he just makes his face. He's grinning, and it's one of those grins that you make out of frustration. He says, "This is unexpected news. That damn Momoshiki must have left it behind on the verge of death," which is accurate. And he says, "my vessel." And so this is what I'm thinking. I'm not sure, but I do think that because you have very clearly Momoshiki is grabbing Boruto's arm. It should be the arm where he has this karma seal, if I'm not mistaken. And you have Momoshiki, if you pay attention to where his hand is, but you get this really eerie shot of Boruto being held by Momoshiki, and then you have Momoshiki's hand reaching for Boruto's heart. It's very subtle. If you look where Momoshiki's hand is on the left side of the screen, it's reaching towards Boruto's heart. I mean, this is nuts. This is nuts. So are they potentially setting up the fact that Boruto and Momoshiki, it might be a Jinchuriki type relationship? Here's the other thing about this, right? So we have that potential set up, but then we also have Kawaki, when he tries to sneak off after failing to complete the vase that he broke that belonged to Himawari, well, he starts to go off to look for the broken piece because it can't hold water because it's missing a piece. That's when the nine-tailed fox manifests in front of Kawaki and he says, hey, you kid, you don't go anywhere. We need to talk. You don't leave Naruto's side. This is nuts. This is nuts. So, I mean, this confirms something that a lot of Naruto fans have had theories about for a very long time, which is the fact that even when a Jinchuriki is asleep, their Biju is still watching over their body. Their Biju, because they're so connected to them. Well, what you end up getting is the nine-tailed fox is like, hey, you can't leave Naruto's side. So it's making me wonder. It's really making me wonder, how's Kawaki gonna take this news? Because as Naruto fans, we all know that Naruto, he might be telling Kawaki all this stuff like, hey, you remind me of a younger version of myself and everything, but what's very telling is that we haven't seen Naruto speaking with Kurama, so we don't know what he's telling Kurama. And so the fact that Kurama goes to this length, it makes me wonder if maybe Naruto isn't as trusting as I kind of pegged him to be. And so I want to ask you guys this for the chapter question. For those of you who are familiar with my One Piece reviews, you guys know I like to end off with a chapter question. So my chapter question to you guys is gonna be twofold. The first thing is do you think that giving Boruto Uzumaki the karma seal over Naruto and Sasuke was a good idea? Because they definitely hinted at the fact that Naruto and Sasuke were the two people they thought were most likely to have the karma seal. So that's the first chapter question. The second chapter question I have for you guys is, what do you guys think the fate of Boruto and Kawaki is going to be? Do you think that they're building up the fact that Kawaki might one day get some of that Nine-Tails chakra? Do you think they're building up the fact that MomoShiki might be using Boruto as a vessel, or Boruto might be a Jinchuriki for MomoShiki of sorts? Let me know down in the comment section below what your thoughts on those stances are. But as always, guys, if you like anything I had to say, don't forget to comment, rate, subscribe, share. Thank you so much for watching all the way to the end. Have an incredible day, guys.